Meeting for June 15, 2021 to order. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, I'll take a motion to open the meeting.
So be it.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4. We are now open. All right, the first part of the meeting is for public comment. So does anyone have anything that they would like to bring to the select board's attention that may not be covered on this evening's agenda? All right, seeing none, we'll move right on to old business. First item is to approve the June 8, 2021 select board meeting minutes. I'll take a motion.
So be it.
Second.
Seconded. All right, there we go. I was like, Barbara, unmute yourself. All right, so all those in favor, sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, that item is open for discussion. Does anyone have any concerns?
They look fine to me.
All right, seeing none. Ernie, what's your pleasure?
Yes.
And Ricky?
Yes.
Barbara?
Yes.
All right, 4, 4, 1 absent. All right, next up we have discussion and consideration of the Parks and Recreation job descriptions. Is Lily with us?
She is not. I know that the board wanted all 5 members for the job descriptions, and Dan was certain that he was going to be tied up in the legislature. So I told her she didn't have to come. If you have any questions though, Melanie, I will try to answer those.
I followed everything down pretty well, but I know we were looking for the whole board. Now, is this going to hinder anything for hiring for the positions?
We don't think so at the moment. And in fact, this delay will give the Parks Board a chance to mull these over as well. We were trying to get them through before we hired, but the Parks Board is meeting tonight because they happen to have a quorum that was available. And so at the next meeting, we should have a recommendation for you from the Parks Board.
Okay, perfect. So I'll take a motion then to table this item to the next meeting.
So be it.
So be it.
All right, moved and seconded. All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4. That item is tabled. Okay, next up we have the discussion and consideration of the RFP for snow plowing, sanding, and ice control. I'll take a motion to open that item.
So be it.
In a second, Barbara seconded. All those in favor? All right, that item is open. Anthony, do you want to lead this?
Certainly. So you guys got a chance to look over this at the last meeting. And so before you now, we did make a few changes. Namely, we put where the roads end as far as addresses or the end of pavement as opposed to people's property, because in some instances that has changed. And those updates are highlighted in your RFP, as is updating the name of Old Route 8 to Warren Hill Road. The other thing that we did is the last page of this RFP includes an alternate bid for plowing of routes 27, 8, 11, and 135. And we put the distances in there for that. I have not yet received any information about what the cost of that is, or how much the DOT might be willing to pay the town if we were to take that on. Unfortunately, the regional supervisor is out of the office for a time. But I figured at the very least, if we put this out as an alternate bid, we will know what the cost would be to the town. And then if we wanted to take that on, we could negotiate with the DOT on how much they might pay us to help offset that cost, at least to some extent. So, and just one other thing, Melanie. So if you guys approve this, we would do as we've done with the other recent RFPs. We would put it out to bid for 2 weeks on the various websites, and then bring a recommendation back to you on July 20th.
Okay. Jack? Jack, are you able to get unmuted?
Are there any legal considerations that need to be addressed in taking on responsibilities for state-owned roads?
Perhaps there would be, Jack, but this is very preliminary. And so I think the first step, the thought was to get at least what the cost would be. And then we would start vetting it from there as to, you know, who would be responsible for what and sort of what would be expected from both sides. So this is just a matter of trying to figure out what the cost would be. And this in no way obligates the town to start plowing those roads. This would be an alternate bid that we could accept or reject.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I think because the reason is in this negotiation with DOT, this is one of the concepts that we had in a way to, you know, possibly mitigate how many folks are using the sand and salt shed, things like that. And that piece of property that the state owns up there, but we'll have that finalized within the next 3 years. So if we do take on those roads as part of a yin yang, then we need to have a general idea of what it will cost us if we do it all on our own dime. So does anybody have any further questions? Are there any concerns?
I was just curious. It looks as if we get the on the optional the state routes. It actually goes all the way into Water Street in Oakland, which surprised me. So we would be plowing part of Route 11 into Oakland as well.
Yeah.
That is part of the state road, so, and it does go all the way to Oakland.
Yeah, and so what they did, Barbara, they just provided us what their Belgrade routes are, even though those routes extend beyond the town limits to some extent.
I see.
You know,
okay.
like Route 27 would go, if we were to take that on, we'd be plowing all the way up to 225, well into Rome.
Yeah, okay. So it's Belgrade plus.
That's one way of putting it.
They're gonna have us plowing into Augusta.
Seems like it.
We'd like you folks to get to the State House and then. All right, so do we want to look at this, approving to move this forward as 2 separate bids? So one for the original plowing, sanding, and ice control for the main contract, and then a secondary approval for the alternate bid?
I would think you'd have to.
Okay, that's what I was thinking, but I was waiting for backup. All right, so I will take a motion, or I will make a motion that we approve the RFP for snow plowing, sanding, and ice control for the town of Belgrade's winter maintenance.
I'll second
I'll
that.
second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Any further discussion on that? All right, seeing none. Ricky,
Yes.
Barbara,
Yes.
Ernie?
Yes.
All right, 4 yeses, 1 absent. All right, second, I will make a motion that we move forward with the alternate bid for the town of Belgrade's interest in plowing portions of 27, 8, and 11, and 135.
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All right, seeing none. Ricky?
Yes.
Barbara?
Yes.
Ernie?
Yes.
All right,
Yes.
4 yeses, 1 absent. All right, next up, we're at new business. So we were going to have a discussion and consideration of the 2021 tax commitment. I know this afternoon a little bit more information went out on that. Knowing that Dan wasn't going to be part of the meeting tonight, my personal opinion is that we would want the full board here to make a discussion on the tax commitment and make that decision. How do the rest of you folks feel?
I agree.
I agree.
Okay, and Ernie, what are your thoughts?
I agree.
So the second question is, we formerly, before pre-COVID, we would make the tax commitment in June. We've been a little bit late at that the last couple of years. The first year we'll throw at Anthony. Just kidding. But we had the transition in town manager, so everything didn't run quite as smoothly as it has in the past. So we got into July before we made it. And then last year, of course, we had COVID. So we have two options. One would be to hold a special meeting on the last Tuesday of the month, if Rob is available to us, to have a shortened meeting where he could review the tax commitment paperwork that we have in our folders, give us his suggestions, and then we can work together to set the mill rate and set that tax commitment. The second option would be for us to wait until the following week for the first meeting in July and set the tax commitment on July the 6th. So I'm looking for everyone to weigh in, and then we'll decide which way to go.
Let's go to the regular meeting, July 6th.
Okay. Barbara, what are your thoughts?
Well, I think because we're still waiting for some confirmation for some numbers, it seems like it's worth waiting.
Okay. Ernie, what are your thoughts?
It's worth waiting.
Okay. So I will take a motion then to table the discussion and consideration of the 2021 tax commitment to the July 6th regular select board meeting.
Yeah.
And a second?
Second. Moved
and seconded. All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, that item is tabled to July 6th.
Melanie, before you move on from that item, you know, I sense, as Melanie said, I sent some late information out late in the day. And so if you guys have any questions of me about that at the moment, I'd be happy to just sort of let you know what we know at this point.
I honestly was so busy, Anthony, I didn't get a chance to review it.
And I figured that was the case, Melanie, because it went out late in the day. I will tell you that I got some correspondence from the RSU 18 superintendent, and I don't think that we're going to see any benefit from the potential increase in state funding of public education this year. If we see any benefit, it will be next year. And you can read the email that I forwarded to you to understand that a little better. It's rather convoluted explanation. And then I also, right before I left work today, I got an email from the state treasurer's office that said that if the legislature does finally pass increasing the municipal revenue sharing percentage, and right now there's some emergency legislation to increase it to the full 5% allowed by the law, then they will update their estimates as quickly as possible. And since the fiscal year begins July 1, I would anticipate that if that happens, we will have that information for you by July the 6th, and we can factor that into the tax commitment.
Perfect. More information we can plug in, the better.
Yeah.
All right, so next we have an update on the Veterans Memorial improvements. I will take a motion to open that item.
Yeah.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor? All right, 1, 2, 3, 4. Gary Mahler, you have the floor.
So we were charging along rather nicely. We had, we raised 10 of the $12,000 or had pledges to complete the 2 extensions. And we had the drawing of the extension. We had a contractor. And then we decided we better go look and see what the paperwork giving that particular plot of ground to the town looked like. So we went and got it. And in fact, we can't do anything with it. It specifically states that, let me change glasses here, that the names will include World War I, World War II, Korea, and Vietnam, and no other purpose and further that the monument presently erected on the site be neither enlarged or diminished. And that's signed by 4 people, the Dion's and I can't make out McAbbott's or something like that. And the select persons at the time agreed to that. It went to the town meeting in '88 and was agreed to. So at that point, we decided, we also talked to Mr. Dion, who refers to himself as the last man standing of the 4 that actually made that donation to the town. His wishes were not to do anything with it. He said they talked about it at the time, and they just felt it was as good as it was going to get. In order to change that, we talked to Anthony, and we'd have to go to a town meeting and have a vote. The committee decided we just didn't want to do that. We'll go with what Mr. Dion wanted and the other 3 people at the time. If there wants to be changes in the future to the size of the monument, then that's somebody else's responsibility. So then we decided it would be nice to have a monument in the cemetery for the veterans. I mean, it would be a really nice place to have one. And then Stu Gerald went up and he found it. There is one there. And it's really nice. It's located right in front of the flagpole. A lot of feng shui there. So we looked at it and decided we liked it a lot and didn't want to do anything with it. So we've since sent checks back, and we're going to dissolve the committee and go away and do something else at a later date. So that's kind of where we stand. We thank you guys for giving your approval to start that committee. And we do have some, some requests. One, we would like the town to take the sidewalk, the existing sidewalk that's there, extend that up to the base of the monument. Carol Johnson said she was very involved in putting the sidewalks in Belgrade Lakes. She figures that cost would be $1,000, $1,500. We know there are donors that will put in solar lighting, some solar lighting in the ground, and will dismantle the 2 bug eyes that sit up on top. Since I don't believe the town is paying the bill for those lights, I think the building next door is paying the bill for those lights. But we kind of like to make that as maintenance free as possible. We also think there's probably donor money that would put in a very nice bench at the foot of that monument or down towards the street. So that's kind of where we stand. I'm open to criticism. I'm open to questions. I'm open to accolades if if they're coming. So.
Now, Gary, I know one of the reasons why you were looking to expand this was to include the names of the veterans who maybe have not been acknowledged on a plaque.
That was the original idea. However, the cemetery monument is for all veterans. Doesn't have a list of names. And in fact, there were 2 or 3 of us on that committee that weren't very motivated by putting names on a monument anyway. So, but it includes all veterans, the one in the cemetery.
Okay.
That's my report. That's my request.
Well done.
All right. So I would say that as far as extending the sidewalk, that would need to be taken up at a future select board meeting.
We don't have a problem with that. We understand the process.
Come up with.
We understand it's probably not going to get done for a little while, but that's fine with us as long as the town would consider that. It's not a great amount of money. It would make that little area so that nobody had to go down and cut the weeds or plant flowers. It would be maintenance free, which was one of our goals when we wanted to change that, was to make it as maintenance free as possible.
Okay.
Gary?
Yeah.
If I could add, I've spoken with Kent Cooper, who's the landscape architect for the state of Maine and did a lot of the work here in the village. And he is going to put together a couple of ideas of what we could put in for plants that would be perennials, that would be maintenance free and would fit in with the keeping of what's here in town. And he called me back on it again today, and we would certainly have that drawing by the next select board meeting, and we could talk more to it at that time.
Okay. So let's put that on the agenda, well, on the potential agenda for July 6th. We'll kind of see how we're loading that one up. And if it's possible that we can add that agenda item to that. And if you folks are ready, happy to take that up at that time.
Yep, thank you.
All
Are
right.
you shaking your head yes, Carol?
I'm shaking my hand, yes.
Okay.
Can't see my hand shaking?
All right. Well, I'm sorry it didn't work out quite as you planned, but I like Plan B too. All right, so next up we have the consideration of non-residents applications to purchase burial plots. We have 2 applications before us. I'll take a motion to open that agenda item.
So moved.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor? All right, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have, I'll just go ahead and read this. We've received 2 requests from non-residents to purchase burial spaces in Pine Grove Cemetery. Cemetery's policy is as follows. A non-resident may be assigned a single burial lot in the town cemetery, providing he or she fulfills one of the following 3 requirements. A person must have been born in the community. A person must have blood relatives who are either living in the community or who were buried in the cemetery, or a person must own and have paid property taxes on real property in the town of Belgrade for a period of not less than 20 years. So first up, we have a request from Shirley Wyman Garand. I don't see that person here.
No, she told me, Melanie, she does not do computers, so she would not be here.
Okay. So, but she lived in Belgrade until she was 30, attended Belgrade schools throughout her schooling, and graduated from Belgrade High School in 1967. Further, her parents are buried in Pine Grove, as are her 3 brothers. Her sister also owns a plot there. She is requesting to buy 1 plot.
So we're 1 that's out on 135.
Could be.
I get Joanne.
All right, so that is open for discussion.
It appears they meet the criteria, at least, one of the criteria, which is all they need to meet. So I guess I'd make a motion that we allow it. If they meet the criteria.
Is there a second on that motion?
Second that.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
I think I'd like to hear from the cemetery committee if there's anything that's missing in this. Let's not open a can of worms if we don't need to yet.
Melanie mentioned the possibilities, and she's right. That's the way it's been for a long time.
And it seems like we revamped this, wasn't it, Phil, like maybe about 10 years ago?
We did redo that about 10 years ago.
To put some parameters around.
Right.
I think Scott was involved in that one.
Yes, he was.
I think that's when I first started. So,
yeah.
Scott, do you want to come in too?
You guys are all set with that? Bill?
Yes, we're all set with that.
Okay.
I'm fine.
All right. If there's no more discussion, Ricky.
Yes.
And Barbara?
Yes.
Ernie?
Yes.
Shirley Wyman Garand may purchase 1 lot in the Pine Grove Cemetery. All right, next up we have Robert W. and Karen B. Gregg, who meet the 2nd criteria. They have a blood relative, Jean Gregg LaHaye, buried in Pine Grove along with her husband, Alfonso LaHaye. They're asking to buy 4 plots. So how many let me just ask a point of clarification. How many plots would equal a lot?
A plot is 1. One,
And I may have misused the terminology there. That was strictly my terminology, but they were requesting 4 spaces. Might be the better way of saying it.
yeah. I thought that I'm not sure. I was thinking that the lots that were available that they had with relatives was the only thing that they could use, but I'm not totally sure about that.
So what their letter says, it says, please advise if we qualify for 4 sites and what the fees would be along with the location. And Chris, I don't know, did you have any personal contact with these folks?
I talked to him on the phone. He's looking to purchase 4 plots under the siblings that have been buried in the cemetery. So he's looking to purchase 4 plots himself.
Now, are they siblings or are they blood relatives?
It's a blood relative. It's his sister is buried in the cemetery now.
Okay. So.
Yeah, Scott, if that's the way it was set up.
I'd ask for
Scott, are you able to weigh in?
Sure, why not?
Thanks, Scott.
This is gonna cost you though.
Your dad's loaded.
Yeah, I know. So the way that it was written, they don't have to be in the same spot as their relatives.
Okay.
And it is not a plot, it's a space.
Right.
It's $450 now, whatever it is per space. And 1 space is either 1 full burial or 3 cremations. And it does not have to be anywhere near their relative. So you read it how you want. I mean, I guess if there's 2 in that family and they want to get 4 spaces so they have room for other relatives, then that's just the way that's going to have to work. That answer your question?
Well, do we need clarification, I guess, on who the additional spots would be for?
I don't think you do.
Okay,
I mean,
so it doesn't matter.
just because it doesn't really matter, because it could change. They could be assigned to Joe, Joe and Jan, and Bob and Ed ended up dying. They gave it to them instead. You have no control who goes in the spot. You have control over who owns it.
Okay.
That makes sense.
That does. So if I go first, I get Ricky's spot?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Don't have to worry, I'm not going there. I'm gonna save some room.
All right. Phil, you're shaking your head.
I'm agreeing with Scott on that.
So that if they meet the criteria,
Right.
they technically, well, do they meet the criteria entirely?
Yeah.
So there's two blood relatives, and so if they purchase 4 spots, each one would still have a tie to that blood relative, and that would still fall under our guidelines.
Right.
Yep.
Paul?
Just a quick question. And I apologize, I'm obviously not a selectman, but I'm taxpayer Belgrade, and I'm listening to all this. So are there any bylaws or any amendments or written constitutions in the way that it's currently structured to prevent people from simply buying 4, 5, 6 pieces of space and then selling it to someone else?
You can't do that.
And that's my only question. I'm obviously unaware the way that this is written, but not for nothing, $450 for a space or a lot is really, really decent price. I think the town is being very generous.
No.
Joe, can you
So I
explain?
guess where I'm going back, all I want to know is, are there any preventions? Are there any preventions written that stipulate or prevent people from either, reselling their lots to someone else?
Yes, there is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. They can't sell it. They can deed it to another family member or give it back to the town, but they can't resell it.
Ask them back to the town.
Yeah. If they don't have a relative to give it
Relative. Right.
Okay.
And I'm just wondering if they wanted 4 different spaces, just to make sure that they understand that they could have 3 cremains. Maybe they, if they all plan to be cremated, maybe they don't need 4 spaces. They could just do 2. But
yeah.
Chris, did you talk to them about that?
Yeah, when people ask me about plots, I tell them everything. So
okay.
Chris, were they interested in just buying 1 lot for 3 cremations?
It sounded like he was going to do full burials.
Okay.
When I talked to Robert.
Yeah.
Okay. And just as a side thing, would somebody mind checking with other cemeteries around and just see? I know, we had looked at doing our weekend burials and kind of updating our pricing for those to be more in line with other communities surrounding. Have we looked at that recently?
Yeah,
yes, we have.
We voted on it last year.
Yeah. So you may recall, Melanie, that the cemetery committee actually did a comparison of how our prices compared to other surrounding towns. And so last year, the voters agreed to raise the price. Previously, the price for a non-resident was $200. And for a resident, it was $50. And so the cemetery committee suggested raising those prices. And so this price is in keeping with that recommendation that was approved by the voters last year.
Okay, because I thought we had done that, but I'm over here with Paul, like, that is kind of a screaming deal on your final resting place. All right, so is there any more discussion on this item? All right, seeing none, I will make a motion that Robert W. and Carrot B, I don't know is it Greg or Greg? Do you know, Chris?
Yeah, it's Greig.
I don't want to mangle their names, so I'll say Greg. But that they will qualify for 4 sites, and we can notify them of what the cost will be for that.
Yeah, I told them when I talked to them on the phone, so.
Okay. All right, so I'll make that motion that that's approved.
I'll second it, I guess.
No.
All right, moved and seconded. Any more discussion?
Bill, is your committee good with this one too?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
Thank you.
Goes along with our criteria.
And if we need to revamp our criteria, I mean, I think it's been at least 10 years, so,
yeah,
we'll
look into that some more.
Kind of looks like this might open up can of worms. I mean,
you could.
4 people that just get slots, they get their names on it. Can they get those people, let 4 people come in, and the next one let 4 people come in? That's
a good question.
I mean, I understand where we went with this when it started, but I think this is escalating into more than what
it could. You're right, Rick. It could escalate. And we've been trying to prevent that from happening. So.
Yeah, because I kind of had in the back of my head if this was, mom and dad and their 2 children. But then if those 2 children have families,
right,
do they, can they also branch out? And
I would say if they had the plot, You know, they could be buried on those plots, but it couldn't add on to new spaces.
Okay. So we may want to look at those.
Yeah.
Yes, I think we need to revisit this.
Yeah.
But I don't see how we can deny them if they fit the criteria that we have now.
No, I think
True.
we're fine with it now. I just think it's something we need to look into.
Yeah.
All right, so that's been moved and seconded. Ricky, what's your pleasure?
Yes.
Ernie?
Yes.
Barbara?
Yes.
And 4 yeses. So if we can notify the Griegs that they meet the criteria and the select board approves.
Okay, will do.
Thank you very much. Next up, we have the consideration of awarding the contract for fuel, propane, and off-road diesel. Take a motion to open that item.
Yeah.
And a second. Moved and seconded. All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4. That item is open. So the town received 2 responses for the request for proposals for number 2 heating oil, propane, and off-road diesel. Of the 2, Vesta Fuel, our current provider, provided the better pricing. It went out to 10 vendors and was posted online. Paul, you have the floor.
The only thing that I really want to point out and bring up to everyone's, just to bring everyone up to date in terms of our pricing compared to obviously Dead River's pricing. I just want to point out a couple things because I see a lot of very familiar faces and names, which is really nice. But I just want to give, as you can obviously see, there's quite a gap. There's a lot of room on the table here that we potentially left open. And it's not about that. I simply want everyone to understand that, like in Rick, okay, on the diesel side of things, that price also, just keep in mind, and I'm sure you're well aware of this and everyone else, town of Belgrade and all towns in the state of Maine are exempt from state and federal taxes. So that, that price reflects that obviously as well. In terms of the fuel oil price, quite honestly, we have been buying fuel prices. We've been buying fuel throughout the whole year. We had a very, very large account that secured some product prior to election. And I mean a lot of gallons. And obviously there's a few remaining gallons that they're not going to normally use. But when you buy fuels and when you trade in any type of commodities, you have to buy them in lotted amounts. So if someone uses, let's say, 500,000 gallons of fuel, it may be you have to buy 550, okay? So that being said, I used some of those gallons from that huge purchase that was at a very good price, looking back now, and that I utilized that price, and I wanted to help town, and quite frankly, I know a lot of people here, and I often say how much it means to me personally seeing my trucks in the community, my company, and I want to do, and I'll always do what I can to help the town. So I just wanted to give just a brief explanation as to what the gap is. Could have been, obviously, looking at this, we could have been much more greedy in terms of pricing and made a lot more. And we could have obviously used the fuel price that we got back that's remaining from the original contract purchase that we made with that large customer for retail fuel and make a lot more money, okay? But everything gets blended in, everything gets balanced out. And I just wanted to let everyone know, what I'm doing here in terms of pricing for the town, just like many people in that that are bidding that are local in the town. We're trying to do our part in making sure that we're making sure that the town is treated the best possible way. And it ultimately represents everyone in the town. So that's really all I have to say.
Well, we appreciate you, Paul. And you know, you could always be a select person.
I think I'm going to buy some property in the lots at the cemetery. That's probably the cheapest piece of property you can buy in Belgrade.
As long as you have it for 20 years, you're in like Flynn.
I'm in, don't worry.
All right, is there any more discussion on this? If not, I'll make a motion that we award the contract for number 2 fuel, LP fuel, and diesel fuel to Augusta Fuel Company.
I'll second that.
All right, there's no more discussion. Ricky? Oh, Ricky?
So, yes.
Yes. Barbara?
Yes.
Ernie?
Yes.
All right, 4 yeses. Thank you, Paul. All right, next up, we have the consideration of awarding the contract for electrical repair, maintenance, and propane generator repair and maintenance. I'll take a motion to open that agenda item.
Yeah.
Moved and seconded by Barbara. All those in favor? All right, so it looks like we received one response from Generators of Maine, which is our current vendor. The RFP was sent out to 4 and posted online. We've been, and is Dan here? I don't see Dan.
Doesn't appear to be.
No. So are we comfortable awarding this contract without Dan?
I am. I would make the motion we do.
I'll second that.
All right, is there any discussion on this? All right, seeing none. Barbara?
Yes.
Ricky?
Yes.
Ernie?
Yes.
And 4 yeses. All right, next up, we have the warrant. This may go down as the fastest select board meeting we've ever had.
Great.
All right, I'll take a motion to open that item.
So be it.
And a second.
Second.
All right, all those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, that is open. Anthony, if you'd be so kind as to do the honors.
This is warrant number 68 in the amount of $490,038.05.
All right. I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
And it's now, oh, all those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That is now, sorry, now it's open for discussion. Did anyone have anything on here that they wanted clarification on? I did just have one question. On page 5, we have the fridge disposal, main resource recovery. Is that the refrigerators or anything with Freon at the transfer station? Is it just that?
That is correct.
Okay. And was that other refrigerator returned to the food pantry?
It was, and I owe a debt of gratitude to Chris Dutil for making all of that happen.
All right, perfect. Does anyone have anything else on this warrant? All right, seeing none. Barbara, what's your pleasure?
Yes.
Ernie?
Yes.
Ricky?
Yes.
All right, 4 yeses. All right, next up we have the town manager report.
So just a couple of things that I didn't have listed in my written report. One, and Melanie just made a reference to it, but I wanted everyone to know that we did get the appliances installed in that home on the Oakland Road, and everything seems to be going just swell with that. Secondly, we're hoping by now we might have some clarity in regards to what we can do from the state's perspective when it comes to remote meetings and hybrid meetings. We still don't have any clarity on that. And so hopefully that'll be something that we might want to discuss at the next meeting. I've talked to a lot of my peers, and it seems like everybody is, if they haven't already, planning on moving to hybrid meetings. So I'll have some more information on that. And then lastly, the thing that I did write about, and I feel a little sheepish about this, quite frankly, but I'm going to be on vacation next week because it's something that we planned and booked last summer, and not anticipating that, my daughter would have been here last week and take some time off. But I will be available during that time. It's more of a staycation here in the Belgrades, and I'm going to make some time each morning to respond to emails and such.
Okay. Now, one of the things I did want to do is I'd like to pull back up at some point, Anthony, the agreement that we had in the past that when the town manager was out, that the town clerk is acting as like interim town manager. Mm-hmm. And we did actually have an agreement that we had crafted for that. So it's probably something else that we should have on the table so that we have a legal standing that if you're unavailable and a crisis happens or something in the town, that the person who would be in charge. So we probably should look at reviewing that as a board and just moving that forward.
Okay. Well, and Mary's in on the call, so that's something we can discuss tomorrow.
Yeah, so just so that we, get everybody back up to speed on it. It's been a number of years since we've looked at it, but it's in capable hands, but I just want to review it, please. Does anybody have anything else we want to throw down about this evening?
I'd like to take a second here, and I think we ought to do something about that speed limit sign that Chris is taking around. You need to put that on a trailer or something. The way that's set up, we're going to have a back injury. Without a doubt, throwing that weight around, and it doesn't take much of a trailer to put that on, but I think you ought to look real seriously at doing something like that.
So that is something that we can definitely do, Rick. Let me ask you a quick question, because I know nothing about trailers. Do you have an estimated cost about what something like that might cost?
You can probably go to Tractor Supply and get one. That thing doesn't weigh a lot. I mean, it's just so that he doesn't have to lift it in and out of the back of the truck and that weight. I mean, I see that every time I drive back by that, I just shake my head. It's an accident waiting to happen.
Okay, and so so another quick question: if we can find a good deal on one, what would you think about using the Select Board Special Projects Fund for that, or would you prefer that we find another source of funding for that?
I don't think that needs to come out of there.
Okay.
It's not an emergency deal. It's a maintenance thing. I mean,
well, and I was going to say, if we purchase a trailer for that, there's a good chance that we would be using the trailer for some other things that we could use it for.
Okay.
Well, buy one that I don't think I'd get one that extreme. We just need
I just wanted some clarification, because so we'll know sort of where to look in the budget so that we can make sure that we pay for that in a place where we can afford it and where it makes sense.
I mean, I think you're only talking maybe $300-400 for a trailer to handle that.
Okay.
He's got 2 other trailers. I just think it's already dedicated just to that. You can bolt it on it. You can lock it when he leaves it someplace.
Oh, I see what you mean, Ricky. Yeah.
So that, I mean, kind of like what the sheriff department does and the state police do. I mean, I just see this and it bothers me. It's bothered me, and I said to Chris about it, and I said I was going to bring it up at the board meeting, and I just think that's the way we ought to go. If we're going to do this, let's do it right, or don't do it at all.
Well, and anytime we can avoid a potential injury.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because we don't want to mar our safety rating. We're kind of kicking it on that.
Go ahead. Thank you.
I did have a question. So the voters approved taking the money out for a truck for the town. So I know, being in the business, that there's no more heavy duty trucks being built that are 2021s, at least GM products. So I don't know if, Chris, if you had a chance to put that out to dealerships to see if you can get a 2021 HD?
Anthony has the paperwork, so I don't know if he's put it out the bid yet or not.
No, I think I emailed you guys. I need to revisit those specs, and Rick and Chris have both helped me with those. And what I did last year was just look through the state's cooperative buying program, which is how we got the Ford F-250 truck that we currently have. And you're right, Melanie. They told me at the time they didn't have anything on the lots, and they weren't sure when they would be getting something. So, it's just something that we'll just put out to bid and see what happens.
Well, because this is where we're at right now, is you can build the truck. I mean, Chris could go to the build my truck, either a Chevy or a GMC. You can actually build a 2021 on the site that checks all your spec boxes. The problem is they're not building any more 2021s. So they're going to pick them up one at a time to build HDs. Dealerships that sell a certain volume have been given an allotment of how many they can build. So once they're picked up by the manufacturer, you are looking at between 12 and 16 weeks past that before your truck is delivered. So we're looking at this point, if a truck is picked up the beginning of August, you're looking into November or possibly the beginning of December before we would actually get a truck.
So that I understand what you're saying. So do you work with a dealership in order to use this sort of the build my truck approach?
Yep. So what you can do is you can actually go right on, you can Google, do build my GMC truck, and it will take you to the link that you need. And when you go in, you can pick a 1-ton, heavy duty, regular cab, blah, blah, blah. You can go right through and pick your specs, pick your color, get all the way down. You'll get at the bottom of it 2021 pricing. Then what would have to happen is the builder at a dealership would get you what your actual pricing would be. You'll have a pretty close idea, but the prices are going to fluctuate a little bit between the 21s and the 22s. But what you do is you save it, and then you can email that build to a person at the dealership. So like if it was our fleet purchase, like our fleet person at O'Connor's, you would email it to him at O'Connor's with this is the truck that I've built, and can you get me some pricing for this? So, but we probably are going to want to get locked in on that process, because it's not going to get any prettier, I don't think, before early 2022.
Melanie, would you want to, when you put that out, put it either a 21 or a 22, so it gives a little bit of an option?
Well, so what'll happen is, like GM has not updated their websites yet for building the truck. They actually still on there, you could build a 2020, and I had some guy try to build a 20. And I was like, seriously, they're not going to build you last year's truck. So I don't know why that's not boot scooted. But when you build a 2021, they're not going to build a 2021. So you can pre-build one, but it's going to get updated and become a 2022.
Right.
So, and part of it that you also want to figure out in your specs is there's certain convenience packages, like, it depends. If we want a straight work truck package, you'll be able to get power windows and power door locks in that. But anything past that, like heated seats or power rear slider, because of the chip shortage, they're not able to put those into the trucks right now. So that could further hold us back. So I don't think our specs were anything out of the ordinary. We weren't looking for, as one guy told me, the truck you have to change your clothes to get into. we're not looking for that type. We're more looking at a work truck package. So all of the, you know, Ford, Dodge, they're all, and Chevy and GMC are all building work truck packages. They're just really limiting their next level up. Paul, did you have something?
So just a quick question to Melanie. If the town goes through that route, or even an individual, all right, if they go through the process and they secure, you know, they order a truck that they designed and they want to get, is the price locked in at that point? And the reason why I'm saying this is because steel prices have been going through the roof. We've seen steel prices jump over $100 within a month. So I think you're bringing up a really good point, and everyone I'm sure is already mindful of this, because we're seeing prices rise all the time. But if we're going to be doing something like this, it may make better sense and cost savings to do it now if we can lock in a price and it's been approved, and go forward with this sooner than later.
Right.
So I guess I'll go back to my original question. If the town designs and approves to you know, obviously approves to do this and designs the truck, and you get quoted a price, does it get locked in at that point?
So that price, so what's happened with us is I did have several folks that locked in a build February and March. They're guaranteed the price that we quoted them when they built their trucks. So say your heavy duty truck was $49,500. Well, all of your HD product now is going for above MSRP by several $1,000s. But the folks that built a truck and were given a price quote at the beginning, that price is honored. So even if it becomes one of those things, like we have a dealer that has offered to pay for every heavy duty truck that we can give them $5,000 over MSRP. So that's going to get flipped on to their customers, clearly. So the best case scenario is to try to lock it in as soon as we can. And I would attempt to get a guarantee from whatever dealership we end up having produce the truck, that they honor the price that they're given at the time of the truck build. So that's my 2 cents on that.
They want to get on it.
Yep. I would lock it in and lock it down, because what's going to happen, I mean, I know what we've been given as an allotment for 2022s, and it is about a quarter of what we normally would be given. So, and you have every salesperson is going to call everybody that they know to try to lock in some of those spots. So does the town probably, we don't have enough trucks to have a fleet number. So that wouldn't give us that sort of an angle that we could use. Is there anything else that the town could qualify for that would be a reduction in the cost?
Melanie, the only thing that I'm aware of is, again, through the state cooperative, purchasing cooperative that we've used in the past.
So, okay. So
I'll go back. You know, they update those inventories on the web on a regular basis. So I'll go back and see what the latest appears to be.
Okay.
You may have to buy one from a dealer that's already made out there. There is some out there around. I've seen some this last week, and I did a little riding around looking. So there is some vehicles out there. Well, may not have everything you want in it, but yeah, better take what you can get right now.
Well, and for the most part, I mean, Chris, it pretty much is a work truck package, heavy duty truck, right?
It's got everything in it you need.
So when you say it's got everything in it,
It's got like power windows, air conditioning, you know, stuff, the basic stuff, not
right?
seats, heated steering wheel, which you need. Vinyl floors.
Yeah, because the heated seats and the heated steering wheel, that's the stuff that throws you into a different package that they're limiting. I mean, I've had them throw back builds. I had a build in there April 27th. It's been sitting in limbo, and they just came back last week and said, we'll build it, but we're going to build them a 2022, and they have to eliminate these two packages.
The basic list that he's got, Anthony's got so far is the basic truck. I mean, it's got, like I said, power windows, heated mirrors, stuff like that. Stuff that you.
Yeah. So that's the stuff that you can expect normally in a basic work truck package with a convenience package. So you do get the power windows in that. So what about upfitter switches?
What was that?
Upfitter switches.
I don't remember. Maybe.
So those you can still put in the upfitter switches at this point, because you would wire to that for your lights and things like that if it's not part of the package.
I came with it.
Yeah. All right. Anybody have anything else? All right. I'll take a motion to adjourn. I was like, wait, I'm like, there was a pause? What? All right, moved and seconded. All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4. Have a good evening, you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thank you.